realized something this morning. A mom I'm about to interview for my podcast asked me a very simple question. She said, "How did you get into the NFL? Where did all of this come from?" And that question stopped me because I was about to film the next part of the fall, but I realized something important. I started this story in the wrong place. I started with the pain. I started with the heartbreak. I started with the loss. But you don't really know what fell yet. So today, I need to take you back. Before the crash, before the loss, before IKONIK. This is the part I forgot to tell. I was 16 years old when I performed in my first professional halftime show, the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. But even before that, dance had already started opening doors for me. At 16, I auditioned for Disneyland, honestly, just for the experience. Over 2,000 dancers auditioned. Only 7 were selected. I was one of them. I performed in the Lion King parade, good old Tribal Queen number 5 at Disneyland. And that was one of the first moments I realized something important. I had something special. Yes, I was technically strong, but more than that, I performed. Choreographers told me again and again, you don't just dance, you command the stage. I'm not just making that up. Different choreographers, different rooms, same feedback. The Pro Bowl audition happened during a national competition. They announced there would be an audition the next day in the ballroom. I showed up 5 minutes late. Instead of jumping in, I sat on the side. I did not want to disrespect the choreographer. Mid-audition, the choreographer stopped and looked straight at me. He said, "Why aren't you auditioning?" Embarrassed, I said I was late. The audition ended, dancers were selected, and I wasn't one of them. I remember thinking, okay, note to self, don't be late to auditions. Then something unexpected happened. The choreographer said, "There's one dancer selected from the competition last night who is actually in this room today." He said my name, Jenny Rasmussen. I lost it. I jumped up, I danced, I couldn't believe it. At 16 years old, I was going to Hawaii to perform in a halftime show on TV. That trip changed me. 200 dancers I had never met. I went alone. My family couldn't afford to go. Huge shout out to my mom who made that happen. Thanks, Mom. 6 girls to a room, luau's, rehearsals on the field. We even had dinner with the football players. And to be honest, the morning of the show, I started throwing up. I don't know what it was, nerves or excitement, but I was so sick on that bus ride. I danced the entire day, literally pale. That moment sums up who I am. No excuses ever. I remember sitting there thinking, who created this opportunity? Because one day I want to do this for kids. That thought never left me. Fast forward to senior year of high school. I wasn't college driven. I didn't struggle in school. I just didn't care about learning things that didn't inspire me. I could get an A, pass the test, and then literally I forgot everything the next day. No kidding. What's funny is I've since taught myself everything about IKONIK. Editing, filming, YouTube, Instagram, marketing, email systems, CRM, AI, branding, business strategies. If I'm inspired, I learn it. That's how my brain works. My mom asked me, "So what's your plan when you graduate?" I said, "I'm not going to college and I don't want to own a studio." I just knew I wanted something different, but I didn't know what that was yet. I moved to Utah. I taught at 6 different studios, not to compete, but to study how owners ran businesses, how choreographers taught, what worked and what didn't. That was my college. Then I moved back to California to pursue professional dance. And I'm going to keep it real. I'll be honest. That industry was a nightmare. Women were objectified, boundaries were crossed, I was disrespected and taken full advantage of. You can read between the lines on that, but hear me now, I walked away fast. I met my ex-husband, I got pregnant, I became a mom. 3 months after my son was born, my husband was deployed to Iraq. It was 2002. I was a single mom on a military base in San Clemente, California, depressed, scared, and alone. So naturally, I went back to dance because dance always saved me. But I knew I didn't want to teach for someone else. I told my husband when he returned, I'm opening my own company, but I'm not going to own a studio. I want to be a mom, knowing the hours that studio owners put in. That company was Solid Hip Hop. Still and forever a huge piece of my heart. And if I'm honest, I still miss Solid Hip Hop every single day. Solid Hip Hop was a performance-based production company. It was never about competition. I never cared about trophies or placements. My best moments were never on a competition stage. They were performing for real people, real crowds, real energy. My first performance, I'll never forget it. It was the good old Rod Run in Temecula, California. 8 dancers, you guys, and I acted like it was Coachella, baby. Custom shirts, DJ, backdrops, energy. I felt like I was Beyonce that day, and I don't care how small it was. Within 6 months, you guys, Solid Hip Hop had 60 dancers. My next show was at a minor league baseball team in Lake Elsinore, California called Storm. I told my husband at the time I would one day get Solid on the Angels Stadium. This was in 2004. Remember that moment, you guys. It is a huge part of how the NFL came almost 20 years later. A few years later in Orange County, California, Solid Hip Hop had over 150 dancers performing at LA Lakers before everybody did it back in 2008, LA Clippers, Disneyland, our own show, Knott's Berry Farm, OC Fair, you name it, we did it. And at its peak, I worked 1 day a week, 9 hours. The rest of the week, I was mom. Football games, gymnastics, my kids were very busy. Solid Hip Hop brought in $20,000 to $30,000 every single month consistently. I lived in a 6,000 square foot home on the beach in Newport, taught in a rooftop studio overlooking the ocean, cars paid off, kids thriving, school literally on the sand. I wasn't chasing. I wasn't even marketing. It was a revolving door of dancers. I mean, if you ask me, I thought I had made it. Here's the part people don't realize. By the time Solid Hip Hop closed in 2020, I had trained over 8,000 to 10,000 dancers. One of them, Kelsey Davies. You might know her on TikTok. Almost 7 million followers, you guys. She told me she was going to get that dream when she was just 16. She was interviewed recently and told me something I didn't even know. She said, "You taught me everything I know about business." That hit me hard because coaching that many kids, watching them grow, perform, win, fail, evolve, it filled my cup. That was my identity. So when Solid Hip Hop disappeared, I wasn't just losing income. I lost purpose. I lost community. I lost the thing that grounded me. So for 5 years, the Angels Stadium told me no. I kept showing up, driving there, always taking on my CDs. In 2019, the boardroom called me and gave me 8 executives. They said, "So you've been trying for 5 years, tell us what you got." I stood up, rubbed my hands together, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is where I thrive." We got in. 150 dancers, Angels Stadium. They asked me back. They loved me. Then 1 month before the second show, COVID happened. And that is when the fall began. And now you understand why the fall hurt so bad. I didn't lose a dream. I lost security, stability, income, and the life I had built for over 22 years. But that dream, remember, I had at 24, standing on the minor league baseball field with 8 dancers, is what eventually led me to the NFL. And I haven't even told you how yet. So stay with me, you guys, because before the fall, there was a very real, very big beginning, and it matters. You will never guess what came next. I know, you'll hear me say that a lot, because every single time it somehow got worse. So how did I go from that moment to where I am now, owning a national dance app, a national NFL dance company, creating Get Salty workouts, and now launching this podcast? You're gonna have to stay tuned to find out. I'll see you next Monday.